Thank you, Tomer. It has been great to work with you, and also, over the years, some of the team members at EngFlow have long relationship with Wix from our days at Google. And as I mentioned, actually, some of these people sitting in the front row were even setting direction for Google's capabilities in the space as well, because Wix was so advanced. It was SpaceX and Wix among the first adopters of Bazel, so you're in good company. All right. Oh, you switch? Okay. All right, so I'm Helen Altshuler, co-founder and CEO of EngFlow. As Tomer said, EngFlow provides capabilities on top of Bazel for remote execution, observability, and other cool things that I'll talk about. And I created EngFlow with Ulf Adams. We'll talk about Ulf as well. And we're now, actually, this week we're celebrating our 3rd year, so it's been a long road. How did that happen?
It's very sensitive.
Oh, let's see. I'll be gentle. All right, so the traditional ecosystem of tools, as many of you know, historically you needed different build systems for different programming languages, and as code bases get more complex, developers had to bring in Maven for Java, and Webpack for JavaScript, and CMake for C++, and so on. And then came Bazel. And so Bazel, as one of the core systems, as a core platform designed at Google for itself, was open source for the world. You can see Ulf here as the second in a row contributor, core contributor to Bazel.
First in the amount of code.
Yeah.
First in amount of code, that's right. Let's give him applause for that. Yeah. All right, so Google built Bazel, or Blaze actually, for itself. It open sourced it in 2015. It was a beta version for multiple years, actually, before it became version 1. But many companies, including Wix, as I mentioned, including SpaceX, adopted it in its very early state because it was already so much more powerful than traditional build systems and provided so much potential for more things with extensibility, the Starlock language, as well as the ability to provide remote execution and other services on top. And so Wix, as Tomer mentioned as well, was one of the pioneers and co-authors of the Rule Scholar. Itai here on the left. Thank you, Itai, and continue to be very active.
On the right. And Linus is also on the team. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Very cool. All right, congrats, Wix. You've taken over the Scholar. Bazel ecosystem is actually pretty large. There are at least 400 companies using Bazel actively, and as often described this, in many large companies, especially large enterprises that have large code bases, there's at least one engineer or two engineers somewhere sitting in the corner of the developer experience team trying to see if Bazel is the right choice for them. And so all of you here, if you're not using Bazel, it's a good opportunity to understand why companies do use Bazel. So it's a pretty large ecosystem. And then I mentioned that, this is our community day. So Bazel community on Slack, there's about 5,000 members. But and they're mostly build engineers and platform engineers, developer experience engineers. So those are 2 people per company that really care about builds. But behind each of those engineers, if they do their job well and they implement Bazel in the right way, there are thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of engineers that are affected by Bazel that don't even know it. And it's a good thing. If you do your work well, they shouldn't have to know. So BazelCon, I actually created the first one with a few Googlers in 2017. It was in Sunnyvale, and since then it's been annual. The last one was in November, and you're welcome to come to the next one. I'm not quite sure where it's going to be. It's been a great experience to bring people that use Bazel to talk about how they use it. And it's been also interesting to see how BazelCon has evolved. It started with lots and lots of migration talks because people were migrating and telling their stories. And it has evolved to more tools on top of Bazel and services and platforms. And last year in November, Sarah, our team member, talked about the open source project, the analyzer, Bazel Invocation Analyzer, which Antonio will also demonstrate to you in his talk. And there's been more and more platforms built on top of Bazel, which is creating a more vibrant ecosystem around it. And so we've done community days. They started with Bloomberg in 2018, so they suggested just like, let's just get a couple of engineers hack on as part of the BazelCon Day 2. Were you there, Itai? Itai is nodding. Right? Thank you for being a part of our first Bazel community day. It's led by community. Some companies have taken more active role in the past. Since EngFlow was created, we're so passionate about Bazel that we have been stepping up our efforts. And so we've created these community days in San Francisco last year, in London, in New York at Datadog as part of the BazelCon, and this is the next one in Israel. And so we've got a few virtual meetups as well. And what's next is San Francisco in May, so if you want to come, stay tuned. I now have multiple very, very cool companies in California wanting to host us, so that's exciting. It's not shown on a slide, but Iceland. So stay tuned for that in Q3. Everybody wants to come to Iceland, right? So we hope you'll be joining us for these days to learn more about Bazel. In case it's not obvious, we have Bazel.build. A little bit more about EngFlow. So we are a company and a platform with one of our goals to make Bazel more powerful. And so we provide remote execution that can accelerate software builds across multiple platforms. Actually, not just Bazel, but Bazel is our big focus right now. It's a company of engineers that built Bazel at Google, that use Bazel at other companies, and migrated as well as active Bazel contributors. And we continue to do that today. We're offering services such as remote execution and caching. These are the powerful capabilities that Bazel provides but does not implement, so you need a third-party service, whether it's an open source project or a product from EngFlow. And the results observability, so ability to analyze your Bazel profiles, ability to see what's happening with different indications, what's taking longer, so visibility into your builds. And to learn more, you can go to EngFlow. And on that note, I'm very excited to be here. I'm very, very happy.